Hey, you guys. Well, we are back in Massachusetts for the Brian Walshe trial. And after day one, I'm going to do a bit of a breakdown. Now, if you're new to this trial, Brian Walshe was supposed to be going on trial for three separate counts. However, prior to the start of day one in the trial, he did plead guilty to two of the three, basically the two lesser crimes. So he still is going on trial for first degree premeditated murder, but he has pled to willfully misleading the police, basically lying about Anna going to work early, the missing story, all of that, as well as to the improper conveyance of a body, basically the dismemberment and dispersal of the body parts. He has gone ahead and pled guilty to those. Now, for the willful misleading or obstruction of justice charge, he is looking at anywhere between 10 to 20 years. And the kind of movement of the body is anywhere from 3 years to up, depending on certain factors, depending on if he's guilty of the first degree premeditated murder. Now, the state's opening I thought was pretty good. It did give a clear, kind of concise timeline and sort of line of events and really highlighted, the gap between when Brian said Anna went missing and when the company she worked for was forced to call in a missing persons report. It goes into dates and times, and he listed all of the people involved, where the investigation went. And what is noticeable is that from the very first moment, things were being looked into. I know we've not had the most great investigations out of the state of Massachusetts, but this seems to be much different. It seems like, once the local Cohasic, I believe that's how, or Cohasic, look, it's New England. I'm not even, once the local police got involved, they interviewed Brian. They started looking through things, dredged the pool in the back. Now, these aren't things that were covered in the opening statement, but it was a little dry. I mean, it was very factual. It wasn't that gold standard sort of Chandler Halderson, let me tell you an interesting story and go through the fact patterns. But it was very good at pointing out some of the, sus things. And then the state basically got to all of the Google searches that Brian went through, which again, not great. Now, the state did bring out that Anna was carrying on an affair with the real estate agent that had sold her the town home in Washington. Now, this becomes important because of what the defense is going to say. But basically, we hear that Anna is carrying on an affair, and, did miss certain holidays that last year of 2022. It seemed like she had, instead of going home for Thanksgiving, had visited her mother in Belgrade. Instead of, Christmas, she was having a nice dinner with her affair partner. So it does look like there was strain in the marriage, and the state goes to point this out, that she had been carrying on an affair. Now, whether or not Brian knew about it isn't something that the state went into, but the defense did go into. And the defense in this case, I'll basically be spending the rest of this because the state's case is fairly standard boilerplate. We have this evidence. His phone was pinged next to where we found the clothes that he described as what she went missing with. And he kind of already confessed to, dumping off body parts in dumpsters. So that was interesting. Now, what was also interesting was that prior to the opening statements going ahead, you had the defense attorney asking if Brian would be sentenced today. So prior to the trial, he was going to have Brian do the sentencing. Now, the judge seems to be on top of things, very, very on top of the exhibits and the things that the lawyers are bringing to her. It might be a Massachusetts miracle, but we have a lawyer that was going through motions and making rulings prior to the jury coming in. I know you're shocked too. Now, there were several motions that they did hear before the opening statements. The first one was a motion from the defense to basically not show. We were shown a lot of pictures of the house with the first witness today. And basically, it was going to be to take out, there was a hole in the room that Brian slept in the ceiling. And he had, for reasons known only to Brian, taken that ceiling kind of sheetrock or plaster or whatever you call it, and stuffed those pieces into his side table. Now, the defense, for whatever reason, did not want that shown. The judge overruled that, said that it was going to be shown. Now, the defense had another motion about the emails involving Mr. Fasto. Now, Mr. Fasto is the affair partner that Anna had. So it does look like the state is going to be moving to add some of the emails and communications between Anna and Mr. Fasto into evidence, and the defense is objecting to that. Now, that was being held. That particular motion, the judge is holding until Mr. Fasto is testifying. Now, the state does anticipate that to be about Tuesday, so we might see this come to fruition a little sooner, or at least get a ruling on this. Now, the defense did try to object to some text messages that it's not really clear whether Anna sent them or Brian sent them from. Basically, he was in control of both of the phones during the time period. So it's unsure whether, who actually sent these, but they did want those to be precluded. Now, it does seem like that's another ruling that she is going to wait for because these still involve the text messages between her and Mr. Fasto, or at least communications. So it does look like there is going to be at least a further hearing before Mr. Fasto testifies. Now, the Commonwealth then put a motion in to preclude the defense from bringing up the fact that Brian had pled guilty to the obstruction of justice and the body dismemberment. Now, I will say that the defense attorney did ask a question and asked if he could frame, the fact that Brian had lied, or at least put that out there in his opening statement. And the judge said that was okay. So this judge seems to be very good at controlling her courtroom, and these lawyers seem to be good at asking if something's permissible before going forward. So it does seem like a much more kind of well-oiled machine when it comes to courtrooms. Now, the defense in this case is, well, I'll just let you guys listen to it a little bit.
Brian Walshe lied to the police. Lied to him on January 4th, lied to him on January 5th.
Yeah, when your first statement is, yeah, my client's a liar, but I swear his wife died unexpectedly from sudden adult death syndrome, which is a real thing, I swear. And Brian was so verklempt, finding out that Anna, the love of his life, had died, that instead of rendering aid or calling 911, he decided to make this fakakta story and dismember her in grief, while also thinking of an alibi and trying to get away with the fact that he dismembered her. Y'all, I am trying to keep an open mind. But that defense was about as good as the Chandler Holderson case. And when it comes to links with the Chandler Holderson case, not only do we have the sort of dismemberment and the stupid story that wouldn't fool anyone, We have the interviews of inanity. Brian Walshe, in true Chandler Halderson fashion, at last count, has had two interviews that we have seen through the first witness, the lead detective, Detective Schmidt. And basically, he goes through and does a Chandler Halderson. We have learned about his mom's sciatica. We have learned about his kids liking French toast. We have learned about all these sort of like errands that he's run. But what really comes across and what is very noticeable, again, if you are to believe the defense's version of this case, when you are listening to these recorded interviews, what you can hear beyond the cursed audio is a man who is nonchalantly, discussing all these random things after he, again, admittedly by the defense, either has been hiding a body of his deceased wife or just, dismembered and dropped her body parts off in the dumpsters. I mean, again, I don't know that the defense had a lot to work with to begin with, but to basically put out that your client was so incredibly distraught by the passing of his wife that beyond any rational sort of logic, he went directly into dismemberment is a hard sell. And then when your client is able to spend, a good almost 2 hours with cops talking about random bullshit instead of his missing wife, laughing, chatting, just being random instead of being really concerned with the wife, it does kind of fall apart. Now, that being said, I will wait for the state to show their case and for the defense to show their full case in full, but it is definitely going to be a hard thing for the state to go over. And I think if you guys give it a chance and you listen to the interviews, you will get the Chandler Halderson vibes. Again, I am willing to listen to things, but it kind of goes along the same line as what Bronca says in a self-defense case. You have to sort of be above reproach. You have to, have behaved the way any other rational person would do. You have to convince the jury that when faced with this, situation, 9 out of 10 people would do it the same way. And the thing is that every juror or most jury members, or at least every person, is going to have someone they've lost, whether suddenly or not, and can probably honestly look in the mirror and say, you know what, if I came upon the unexpected death of a loved one, running out to Lowe's and Home Depot to get, a red rum kit would probably not be my first, thing. So it is going to be extremely interesting to see how the defense deals with the fact patterns in this case. We are still on the direct for the state's first witness, Detective Schmidt. As we ended today, and it looks like Massachusetts is bracing for the same snowstorm that kind of went through Indy just this weekend. So it might be a shorter day or canceled tomorrow, but I will try to keep you guys in the loop. And I hope you guys enjoy these breakdowns. I will be watching the trial every day and trying to give you a short, 10-15 minute breakdown of every day. And hopefully I can keep this up. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you have any questions, I have taken a bunch of notes and I have my own Walsh, notebook, although I did really crank out the one that looks like I'm playing, Hangman, or yeah, basically I have about 12 pages of notes already for day one. So if you have any questions, I will try to answer them in the comments. I will see you all in the morning at 8 for Mornings with Mo, and then 10:30 for the trial. We will try to be running that schedule 10:30 to 4 most days, because that way we can kind of skip through lunch and kind of get a condensed, version of the case, since I like condensed stuff. Any Hoozle, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Come hang out with me on the Petty Express as we do the Brian Walshe trial, and I will see you tomorrow bright and early. So have a great rest of your day. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire because kindness doesn't equal doormat. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.